Now, there's a clip from a video of the Elektra Women's Choir, and it's called Teachings of the Water. It was done in collaboration with local First Nations, and this whole thing is going to be posted on YouTube Thursday, June 9th. Well, with us today is Pat Carrabr. Pat wrote this musical score. He's a Métis composer and director at the UBC School of Music. Pat, thank you so much for coming in.
Really my pleasure. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit more about this project. I mean, just from the little we've seen there, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and I haven't seen all the video yet myself, so I'm waiting with bated breath to see it all. It really looks to be quite spectacular. It's a project that has been quite a while in the making. You know, when you're working with Indigenous communities, First Nations, local communities in particular, you need to take the time to get to know people and to make friendships and to follow the protocols to make sure that you're doing things properly. And so that takes a lot more time. I was brought on board very early in the project. Morna Edmondson called me, and Jeanette Gallant had come up with some concepts about Indigenous water protocols. And so they asked me as a Métis composer to write the music. First, I was a little bit unsure because water protocols tend to be more on the women's side of things. But I thought, okay, as a Métis person, I can fill that traditional role of being a mediary between Western culture and Indigenous culture. So we connected to a number of local knowledge keepers. In the end, we connected most deeply with folks from Squamish First Nation. And then we got going from there. We shared our ideas, we went back and forth, we tried things out with the choir, and it's been a really wonderful process.
Okay, well, I mean, where do you even start to try things out with the choir, though? I mean, are you coming up with this inspiration in the middle of the night saying, I'm just going to go here? I mean, seriously, you're making Frenches, but you're making music, too.
Yeah, but it takes time because, and that's what I loved about this kind of project, is that you have the time and the relationship with the musicians. So I would, first of all, we would have a meeting with Becky Duncan, who was our Squamish language holder. And we said, okay, here's some of the concepts that we've been working with around water, whether that's birth or community or how we ripple out, with our person is like a little ripple that then connects to all these other people in the community. And she would say, okay, in Squamish, it's this kind of idea. So they had this a protocol called shokum, where you immerse yourself in cold water, or wepeon, which is like a cedar brushing ceremony. So she'd gifted us those words, and then I would go away and I would try in general terms about how do I feel about this idea about water, whether it's birth or introducing people or water that's in different forms, like rain or in the ground or how that works. And I tried to do it in a more abstract way so that as we learned more from Becky, we could adapt to these protocols from here.
Well, you're a creative person already, but how has this experience affected you, changed you?
It's been really impactful for me as an uninvited guest on this territory. I've only been in BC for 3 years. I come from Red River in Manitoba. So for me to make the connections to people like Becky and Mary Jane Joe, who was also working on the project, and a number of other people, it really gives me a feeling that I'm welcome and that I'm kind of getting grounded in the difference that is this space where the very different protocols than I know from the prairie. So it's been really wonderful, and with Elektra, to meet all these great musicians who are so excited and open to the idea of exploring these different ways of knowing and being.
No, I love that. I love the way you've described that. And you talk a little bit about the ripple effect, the ripple effect as you're exploring water, nature, that type of thing. What kind of ripple effect do you hope an experience like this and a project like this will have in the future?
Yeah, and that's a really key part for why I wanted to participate, because when I talked to Morna and Jeanette, the idea is that I've written the notes, but if this piece is done in Toronto, the invitation is for the Toronto choir to connect to the First Nations in their community, to understand their water protocols, to adapt the piece. So I think the ripple is really in giving an invitation to engage between choirs and the traditional owners and caretakers of the land where they are.
Pat, thank you so much for coming in and sharing some beautiful music
A real
with us.
pleasure. Thank you so much.